I don't do many opinion pieces on this channel, but I do have a couple coming this week, due to the events at Adepticon, and how much we've learned from the celebration of the launch of the Mercenaries Kickstarter. There are some mild spoilers past this point, so I am just warning everyone now. For those of you who have followed this channel for some time, either following the videos I produce or the live streams that I run, you'll know that I delve into the lore a lot, whether it be about specific vehicles, characters, or factions. For me, just as important as the game is the incredible world of the Inner Sphere and the residents within it. It very much is what breathes life into the armies. It inspires me, in my rare moments of spare time, to paint any armies. It gives me clever ideas to build forces. For me, myself, it's what makes the hobby so worthwhile. If the lore, and to a slightly lesser extent the art, weren't able to draw me in, even an incredible game will struggle to keep hold of my attention. I've given a great deal of exposure to the later times of Battletech, from the Dark Age through to the Ilclan era, because I've found the stories have managed to capture my imagination and my attention. While yes, the Dark Age didn't start well, its sourcebooks are generally incredible, especially in the years after Catalyst Game Labs began to take over. But now we're in this new age known as the Ilclan era. I've covered it here on my channel, as I just mentioned before, in the forms of various novels, as well as the 2 sourcebooks that have been released since I began covering Battletech. I've also covered new lore for various battle mechs and factions where it's relevant for my videos, as many of you have noticed. With all of that said, I've not felt as excited for what's coming since watching the interviews with Ray Aristia, John Helfers, Randall Bills, and Michael Chiarlavella. Forgive me if I've mispronounced any of these names, but it has reignited my interest in what was coming during and after the next sourcebook. If anything, it has opened my interest to a series of factions and plots that we're going to be seeing beyond what I'd anticipated up until this point. While things are light on details in some respects, things are clear to a degree which allows me to feel excited in a way I haven't in a while. So, without me blathering on much more in this introduction, let's talk what I am excited about, which is coming in the near future for the Ilclan era. First, I'm excited for the real clan Jade Falcon under Khan G.E. Chistu. We've seen his character premiere significantly in Brian Young's A Question of Survival, and more recently in Shrapnel magazine. The last remnants of the independent Falcons have been set up for a series of struggles in the Hinterlands. The Chaos March of the new era. Chistu is going to need to rebuild the Jade Falcons, and every glimpse we get of this, like in Shrapnel issue 11, has been a treat to see. So I'm highly anticipating what is to come next for the Falcons, and I was even before Adepticon. The Green Birds, the real ones in the Hinterlands, have been an absolute joy to read. The Hinterlands themselves are going to be a major region of focus for dynamic stories, where factions will rise and fall in this vacuum, and where larger factions like House Steiner and Hell's Horses are going to be getting exposure as they move to secure this chaotic region for their own gains. We've already seen some novels in this space, outside of A Question of Survival, through the Elements of Treason series, but I expect to see more, especially with some of the hints that Clan's Hell's Horses are going to be getting a lot more exposure here. Speaking of the Hell's Horses, I think I caught John Helfers stating that his favorite upcoming storyline, if I remember correctly, would be involving the horses in the near future. This is exciting for a few reasons. First, because the horses really need the attention, as they are now a clan of the Inner Sphere, and because despite their good showing in Tamar Rising, their reputation is mud. I'm guessing that the good stories they're going to receive will be a huge step forward in making them far more formidable and deep. though I won't lie, I kind of love bagging on them. So while this will be a welcome departure from their current state of being, I will miss their past, and I will look back on it fondly. We're also going to see, if I'm not mistaken, Randall Bills tackle some of the last remnants of Clan Novacat, which I had been originally quite concerned about due to how I felt it was described in Battletech Legends. This was directly addressed in a question I asked the roundtable discussion through the online chat, which not only removed my concerns, it ensured that I'm far more intrigued in where this could all go. I had zero interest in this story before, but my curiosity has been lit after this. I am also, by extension, extremely interested in where things could go with Clan Spirit Cat. The Spirit Cats, a clan which broke off from the Novacats during the Dark Ages and became their own entity, has earned their time in the sun, and it appears they are going to be getting this much-deserved attention. They carry the banner of the Novacats in my opinion, as well as being their own, as I mentioned, unique entity. They are important to the conflict that's happening between the Wolf Empire and the Free Worlds League, too, as well as potentially with the remnants of the Novacats, and even other parties. There is a lot of stories here, and so much room for them to be fleshed out. For the first time in my life, I feel hyped for a story centered around the cats, both of them, and that's fantastic. And a big thank you to both Randall and Ray for this one, for not only answering my question, but selling me on it. The sequel to hunting season is on the horizon as well, which I'm hoping is going to touch on a series of events that we saw in Empire alone, and will help set up for the circumstances that will come afterwards. I've made no secret on my streams that I think Nicole Hallis is a questionably capable leader, but I enjoyed hunting season in its first outing in spite of that, and I really enjoyed Empire Alone and Redemption Rights in spite of it as well. In this case, there is more than just that for Season 2, because we know the war with the Marians advances and eventually concludes. We also know they are now in open war with the Wolf Empire. We know of the skirmishes, if not the outright battles on the border with House Steiner. And hopefully we get to see a real glimpse of Fontaine Marik, who's honestly the best leader in the faction as a whole at the moment. I love every moment I got to read of him in Empire Alone, so I'm excited if he makes an appearance. He's very much the man of the moment, though I am concerned for his longevity in the setting, given they are implying that he will be succeeded by Christopher Hallis. As you can tell, I have a great love for the Hallises. Beyond this, I'm curious as to what's happening with the cousins Kenyon Marik and Trenton Marik, as these two characters are very important, and we've got other Mariks lingering around as well, such as Frederick and the other Rousset Mariks, who were once loyal to the Republic if I remember correctly. In fact, even Trenton has two siblings. Janos' successors are rife within the house itself, in essence, despite the Hallises, the false Mariks, being the ones on the throne for now. Speaking of which, just how much of a say and just how important will these Republic-influenced Mariks and other nobles have in the League? I wonder if they'll be touched on. Either way, there is so much that might get seen, that might get explored in Hunting Season 2. And as someone who loves the Free Worlds League, this has me very excited, even if I'm afraid of what Nicole might do. Hell, this might even tie in with the Spirit Cats, given that they are in the Clan Protectorate, which is a province of the Free Worlds League, and it looks like a showdown might happen between the League and the Protectorate just due to Juliet Hallis being very much in favor of the new Star League. And she is someone who identifies as being part of a clan now, and that'd be an interesting story to see, most definitely. So many possibilities! The Free Worlds League has some of the best storytelling potential at the moment, and as a leaguer, this makes me smile. The Space Balkans are the best. Everybody remember your Adidas tracksuits. The first big novel to break out of the Ilclan era was Redemption Rights by Jason Smetzert. While I am aware Hour of the Wolf reviewed well on Amazon, I think it is an absolutely terrible book, personally. But people already know my opinion on the primary subject of that particular book. Redemption Rights, though, revived my interests in the era most definitely, and it's a Wolf's Dragoons story. So what's coming up next for the Dragoons? I want to find out. They're going to carry on their war with the Wolf Empire and the new Star League. That much is very obvious. Will they keep working for the Mariks? Will they attack from another angle? I'm not really sure after Redemption Rights, but I'm invested. I'm interested, and I'd like to see. We know it's coming. It's just a question of when it will appear in the setting. I believe it was Machiavelli who said it was better to utterly destroy a man, rather than to simply wound him, for the very obvious consequence that a wounded man may recover, or achieve some form of revenge. This is going to be a major focus for the storyline, I expect, and it deserves the attention it's going to receive. The best thing about the new GDL is that the new GDL is basically Grayson's descendants exploiting his unit's name in order to give themselves street cred as mercenaries, and I honestly love it. I end up reading a lot of stuff for fun and a lot of stuff for the channel, so things aren't immediately on the menu for booked reviews all the time, unless there's a long format video or something extremely important for me to do research on. The Price of Duty is a book that I own, but I've not had a chance to deep dive into it yet. I'm going to be doing that in the coming weeks. Hopefully it's as good as I've heard, and I want to get through all the other materials for the new Grey Death Legion as well. And I am hopeful that they have a great story in the overall setting, and I think that they're going to begin having bigger impacts as well, because you really can't just discard a name as valuable as the Grey Death Legion. Just a quick run over for the rest of the things I'm interested in going forward, that might not be as in-depth as the previous things we've talked about, or these things might be taking a long time before they get touched on again. After Damocles' Sanction, I'm very interested in what's happening with House Davion. Julian is apparently going to likely marry into the Hassocks, which will, I'm sure, create endless problems for him, given his brother-in-law is someone he's probably going to need to kill at some point, or at the very least he doesn't want him to survive. The last part isn't a prediction, it's just an idle observation. Despite my opinion on Dominions Divided, I am still very much following what is going to be happening with the Draconis Combine, which has been narratively excellently served from the Dark Age all the way into the Ilclan era and even into Dominions Divided itself, being a major bright spot of it. I am expecting more interesting developments for Kurita. Both in terms of a sourcebook and a novel, I am skeptical that a huge flood of new material will come for either the Combine or the Federated Sons. But these will get updates into the future, and I am invested in seeing where they take the story. As another aside, House Steiner may need some attention beyond its involvement in the Hinterlands. But all the same, it's something I am interested in seeing as well. Trillian's situation is absolutely terrible. The Lyran state is bankrupt, has a disloyal military, its provinces are trying to break away, and it's all fascinating stuff to read. The scramble for their own former territories, while vital, is almost an insult for this once glorious house. What a great story for CGL to mine at that. The desperate always have strong story potential. Now, to be clear, I used to have an entirely bleak view on the following subject. It's something I will be covering for the channel because it is the main A-plot of the setting, but it's never good to feel dismissive or disinterested in the core of the universe. I can now bring some good news though, which is something I'd rather do in most circumstances anyway. So the plot on Terra's been not great, as a quick overview, since the death of the Republic at the hands of Clan Wolf. People know my opinion who have watched the Clan Wolf disclaimer, which doesn't even have much to do with the Ilclan era itself, it's just Clan Wolf as a whole. They're part of the lore, and it does hurt my interest in any storyline that they are in. If you're a fan of Clan Wolf, that's great, it's just not for me. However, there are some serious positive developments that I caught onto when I had a chance to watch, or when they were filtered through to me later. First, it appears Clan Wolf's plot armor is supposed to be diminished or removed. As someone who covers lore releases, this immediately makes my life substantially easier. Second, for the Ilkhan's Eyes Only, the next sourcebook, the balance sheet might look significantly better as a result. This is in every way an upgrade from where things have been on this front, both in the prior storytelling and the fears for what was to be written in the future. So it's great to hear, and I'm now no longer dreading the next book. I'm even mildly intrigued by it. For the record, I do attach the Terran-centric Star League and the clans as a whole to this at this time. So again, anything that's an improvement in this space is an improvement overall. After Adepticon, I'm honestly just so much happier with where the lore is going. Even the things I'm not necessarily big on. But there is a big reason for that. There are a ton of creatives working at Catalyst Game Labs, and they did at Adepticon a fantastic job with interviews, answering hard questions, telling us what they could, and hyping up what's coming while being respectful to the community. I really can't stress enough, everyone who showed up on camera and answered questions, either about the game or about the lore, did an absolutely stellar job, even when people asked hard questions. I, for instance, made some hard inquiries that I winced at asking, and they took those questions head on. They let me know where my concerns were wrong in some instances, and they really opened up a ton of where the lore is going otherwise. So in this portion of the video, I'm going to give a huge thank you to all the staff there, but especially the writing team. Randall Bills, Ray Arista, John Helfers, and Michael C., because I'm not going to try to pronounce his last name again. In particular, these guys all did a great job in tackling these things. And I can say not only was Adepticon reinvigorating for me because I was able to see where the game itself is headed in terms of new miniatures and in a few other respects, but I even felt vindicated in keeping up with the Ilclan era, as it has far more wins than misses. I really do mean it when I say it as a fan. The team is exceptional, and they are weaving a fantastic story and narrative overall. I will add on top of that, even though Brian Young wasn't there, Young and Caravella's latest novels really did blow my expectations out of the water when I read them. Whatever Brian Young or Michael Chialavera's next novels are in the Battletech universe, regardless of whatever the subject's content is, I will be delving into them as a result. And with what I've heard outside of that, Randall Bill's exploration into the survivors of Clan Novacat, and potentially even the Spirit Cats, has at least caught my attention in a way that it hasn't before. So that's definitely high on my anticipation pieces as well. So yeah, there you have it. This is everything I'm excited for lore-wise after Adepticon. I really will say from the lows of Hour of the Wolf, I feel like the setting is approaching a new high. I'll be doing another opinion piece this week in the aftermath of the event, if only because of fan feedback on my own channel, which was generated seemingly based on some of the questions asked during Adepticon. But that's just going to be a mental exercise and an argument for the fandom. Regular content should be returning to this channel that's not opinion-based commentary this Saturday. It really is, in my opinion, a great time to be a Battletech fan. There's an enormous amount of lore and novels not only coming, but their quality by and large is better than it's been in a very long time. Thank you again to all of the Catalyst writers and freelancers who have been putting in such great work for the setting. I just want to remind people at this stage of the video that the Battletech Mercenaries Kickstarter is still going on. It has several weeks left, and I recommend checking it out. I will have a link in the description below for you to take a look, but I think it's something that's very good for the tabletop game, so if you are interested, I recommend checking it out. And with that, thank you for joining me here today. You can hear my voice still hasn't quite covered from like 4 solid days of non-stop streaming. If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking it, if only to help my poor throat. And, if you'd be so kind, consider subscribing to the channel as well. It does help, and you'll enjoy the content, I think. Beyond that, what are you most interested in what is to come? Which interviews did you enjoy most if you've watched any of the Adepticon coverage? Let me know in the comments below. Maybe it's even something I missed. I will catch you all there.